I only want to be shocked and disturbed and unsettled. It's not playtime. This book was not what I expected. Lots of slashy and killy. This is one of the most hated thrillers that booktube has ever gotten its hands on. I just can't tell if I loved it or hated it. Did not love the ending. He done lost his damn mind. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. And not like this book. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am. I'm just so sad. It was rough. What's up, chicken butts? Welcome to my October wrap up. At first I was feeling kind of despondent about how the October reading month went, simply because a lot happened in my personal life and I wasn't able to get the videos up that I said that I was going to get up. And then I sat with myself and I was like, homie, you had so much going on. Chill the hell out. And also when I looked down at all of my statistics, I realized how much reading I actually got done. This is going to be my pre-video pep talk where I basically just tell y'all, do not let the pressure that you put on yourselves to hit these goals when it comes to reading allow you to not actually enjoy the activity itself. The world is on fire. It's a whole ass mess. Reading is supposed to be fun. Yes, it can be saddening when you don't complete that readathon, where you don't hit that group book, when you can't check that bingo board or that box. But at the end of the day, we're all here to connect with our love of books, not to make life any harder on ourselves. Before we hop into the nitty and the gritty of what I actually read during the month of October, I am going to talk about my reading statistics, which is essentially my favorite part of any of my wrap-ups. In the month of October, I read a total of 11 books. My TBR originally had 17 books, 4 genres read, 0 spiritual realism, 1 fantasy, 9 horror thrillers, 0 science fiction books, 1 literature book, 0 nonfiction books, 0 poetry books, and 0 romance books. I read 7 of these books physically, 5 of them audibly, 1 was from the library, 3 were from my long list, 3 were highly anticipated reads, and I had 0 DNFs. Yes. I should have DNF'd you at the shelter. Who's your good girl? Who's a shelter dog? Yes, you are. For an average rating of 4 stars, I read 45% authors of color, and for a total of pages read. And my total page count was 3,582 pages. The best book that I read in the month of October was Babel by R.F. Kuang, and the worst book I read during the month of October was Jackal by Aaron E. Adams. Ugh. Now for the books that I did not get to from my original TBR. We have How to Succeed in Witchcraft, The Killing Rain books by Faye Snowden, Legendborn and Bloodmarked, Dracula, The Genesis of Misery. We also have Carmilla, and we also have The Vampire Chronicles by Anne Rice. Now the good news about these books is that, Akasha, it's not playtime. It's not playtime. Hi. I know, can we play after? Can we play after? We literally just got back from being outside. Don't let her fool you. Hi puppy, yes. Okay, go lay down. Go lay down. Take your toy. Good girl, take it with you. Take it with you. Hey. I should not have thrown that. That was a mistake. The good news is that I have started almost every single one of those books, and I have content coming for all of them, really, except for How to Succeed in Witchcraft. So don't worry. I'm also still filming all of that Blackula content that I promised. It's actually still in production right now. Besides the fact that I just wasn't able to get the content that I wanted up, I really am not ready to let go of Halloween. Why is it that Halloween can only come once a year? Why not continue Halloween into November? I do not celebrate or support Thanksgiving. I'm going to be enjoying the holiday season with Halloween continued. Now for Nocturnal November, I am going to be having reading sprints with a bunch of booktubers every Friday in November, and we are going to be getting together and reading books at night. Scary books at night. The very first Nocturnal November reading sprint, which is on Friday at 9 p.m. CST. We've got a ton of amazing booktubers that are coming on for the sprints, and I'm very, very excited for them myself. So don't worry, you are still going to be seeing content from that big ass stack of books. Now without further ado, let's talk about the books that I actually read. I started an experiment video where I'm reading extreme horror for the first time, and I'm quite excited to say that I got to dip into this wild genre with McKay of McKay's Book Vlogs. We buddy read Jonathan's Night of the Prowler Prowler together, and it was one hell of a ride. This is an extreme horror story told from two perspectives: the predator and the prey. In this book, we are following a violent serial killer who is known for having butchered and cannibaled his own family. It is set in the 80s, where he escapes from his mental institution and goes on the prowl. At the same time, we are also following a young girl whose name I believe is Zoe, and she is working her first shift alone at a gas station. Zoe has no idea that this predator is out to get her. This book was not what I expected. I don't know what I was expecting. Okay, that's a lie. I was expecting lots of gore, lots of slashy and killy, and boy did I get all of that and more. If you want a book where the body count is off the heezy, I mean, this is definitely gonna be the one for you. And it was the way, it was the creative, sickening, disturbing way that this man killed some of these people. And I liked that he just killed everybody indiscriminatively. Is that a word? The young, the old. Everybody got some. He really did not have a type when it came to his victims. He just wanted to kill. And every victim got its own special treatment. I liked that the horror and the torture scenes were so long. That's often my critique when it comes to horror, is that the death scenes are just too brief, and I want that shit to be dragged out. But Jonathan made sure that we got to see and experience every inch of the torture that he was inflicting on these poor characters. That he was your very typical 80s murderer. Not a whole lot of psychology or establishment of character before, just like a mindless killing machine. And of course, the psychological reader in me would have loved to have gotten more of why the fuck is he like this? But I think that was kind of the point of the book, was just to be like, sometimes there's not a reason. Sometimes you just want to kill. And simply for the shock factor alone, I ended up rating this book 5 out of 5 stars, which I was not expecting. It was a very, very fast read. My jaw was on the ground for most of it. It was horrific. I could not possibly give enough content warnings. I was honestly expecting to give this book like a 3-star, but it was simply the creativity of the kill and the brutality of it, the sheer brutality, that I ended up giving it a 5 out of 5 stars. I was completely shocked. I'm learning from filming this experiment video that what I need in order to rate an extreme horror book 5 stars is to just enjoy the shit out of it. I need to enjoy the ride. It's not about the writing, it's not about the characters, all of that, all those things that I usually care about in a book are out the window. When it comes to extreme horror, I only want to be shocked and disturbed and unsettled, and I was all of those things in Night of the Prowler. Next up, we have The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, which I gave a whopping 5 out of 5 stars to. Y'all will probably already know that I filmed an entire experiment video where I read the worst thriller on booktube, aka The House Across the Lake. This is one of the most hated thrillers that booktube has ever gotten its hands on, and it's specifically because of the twist. This is Riley Sager's latest book, where we are following an actress who has been sent to her lake home after she begins struggling with alcoholism after her husband dies untimely. And while she is trying to recover from her alcoholism in this secluded, scary ass place alone where her husband died, so you know that's already a recipe for wellness, her newfound friend across the lake ends up going missing, and she believes that her husband did the deed. Now, I am not going to talk really about this book at all because I have an entire dedicated video, which is going to be linked down below, and in my opinion, it's a very slept on video. It is the second book in It is the second video in my reading books that booktubers hate series. So if you want to hear my thoughts on this book, the plot, all of that fun stuff, just check out that video. Next up, we have a book that I have so many mixed feelings on, and that is Temper by Lane Fargo. Now, what's funny is that I am looking at my stats, and there is a 3 and a 5 next to it. So clearly I had divided thoughts. I'm pretty sure I ended up going with a 3-star rating for this, and if I didn't, that's what I'm gonna go with as of right now, because sitting here, it's definitely a 3-star read. Temper is one of those books that I just can't tell if I loved it or hated it, but I still recommend it. I have hella mixed feelings. I are following a struggling actress in the Chicago theater scene named Kira. She's incredibly ambitious, and she wants nothing more than to work with the critically acclaimed Malcolm Mercer, who is the director of this upcoming performance that she is cast in. But Malcolm has a terrible reputation for traumatizing the shit out of his actors and pushing them to their absolute limits. We are following not only Kira, but also Joanna, who is the co-owner of the theater where the production is taking place. Joanna is in love with Malcolm Mercer, and she has schemes and plots of her own and sees Kira as a threat to those schemes. So we are following these two women and their psychological histories as well as their disturbing presence. Now, Lane Fargo became a favorite auto-buy author after she wrote They Never Learn, which is this incredible serial killer dark academia story that blew my mind. And because of that, I was very, very excited to go back and read Temper because I hadn't heard nothing about it. Now, the best way that I can review this book is talking about who this book is for and who it isn't. And I think by doing that, y'all will understand my complex feelings on it. This book is for people who like a slow burn. I mean slow. The action really doesn't happen until the end. The entire book is psychological suspense. It is a will they, won't they? Is this person, you know, like what the fuck is gonna happen? And it's building tension. I think that Lane Fargo wrote it that way very specifically because is that not what a play is itself? It's a slow driving to that ultimate terrible conclusion. And Fargo has a history in the theater herself that really, really comes through. This is going to be a book for people that love theaters, that love plays. It is going to be a book for people who really, really admire the psychological.
And she's back.
Who like analyzing female dynamics and relationships. The tension, the feminism, commentary on how women are pitted against other women, not only in work industries, but in everyday life.
I really cannot with this dog.
People who love books that are set in the theater, absolutely. All of those elements were 5 out of 5 stars. This is not going to be a book for people who need shit to happen. For a lot of it, I was dreadfully bored. I was dreadfully bored and I felt like a lot of it was redundant. I felt like this power struggle between Kira and Malcolm was just exhausting, but that's the point of it. You're supposed to be exhausted. You are supposed to really believe that he is this manipulative mastermind. And honestly, out of all of those wannabe Hannibal Lecter-esque killer and villains that we've been given in books and in movies and in TV shows, Malcolm Mercer comes closest. Malcolm Mercer is who Dr. Edward Fosca from The Maidens only could hope to be. My only gripe with the story was that I felt that a lot of it was redundant, and I felt, more importantly, that it was just too slow. And if you know me, you know that I actually really enjoy a slow book, so I'm wondering if I would have gotten more out of the audio. And that's why I'm giving it 3 out of 5 stars. But again, the purpose of the book itself was supposed to be slow, so because of that, the author did what she set out to do. I just have mixed feelings, which is why I think I wrote a 5 initially, because it is a masterful ass book. That conclusion is phenomenal. It is brilliant. It's giving Pulitzer. It is a really fantastically well done conclusion. Everything clicks into place. Everything makes sense. I did see the ending coming, but I think that you're kind of supposed to, in the same way. He's like, let me just bring a different toy. Next up, I read another extreme horror book, and that is Dr. Gore's Cannibal Circus. Can't remember who wrote this, but I'm not gonna talk too much about this book because I do not want to spoil the extreme horror video experiment that I'm working on. However, I actually read this for my cannibal book recommendations video that I am working on and I'm almost done with. But essentially, this book is about a cast of characters who all end up going out for a night of fun at the circus, and it turns out that the circus is full of cannibals and killers, and that all of the things that they are seeing are actually real. So these creepy ass supernatural haunting clowns, real. The bat-like animatronic that's creeping around in the corner, that's also real. In case you have not figured it out, I love horror that is centered around carnivals and performances. I love that. I love cannibal horror and I love circus horror. I love to be shocked. And this book was incredibly shocking. Again, it was another fast-paced read. It was very, very brutal. In my opinion, Night of the Prowler was far more brutal. But one of the things that was the most challenging about this book is that one of the characters that we're following is a sexual predator. And that was really, really frustrating. I mean, it was nice because he gets his due, but Again, this is not a book for the faint of heart. There's going to be a lot of content warnings, and I ended up giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I also want to talk about the NB Book Club pick for October, which was Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. In Sarah Gailey's latest novel, we are following a girl named Vera who returns to her childhood home where her father was arrested for being a serial killer. She returns home to sort out her mother's affairs. Her mom is dying of a mysterious illness, but she finds that the house will not let her leave. This is one of the most incredible gothic suspense stories that I have ever read. It is genre bending and genre blending, and the writing is top tier. I love Sarah Gailey. They are an author that people tend to have strong opinions on. Either you love their work or you simply don't, and I am one of those who utterly adore every word that they write. The character work was absolutely exquisite. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars, despite the fact that there were a few things about it that I did not love, but it was the enjoyment of the book overall, and that masterful ass ending, that character work, that gorgeous writing, the commentary on child abuse and loving monsters and trying to escape who you've been while also not wanting to look away from what you've become. All of that was so well done. And yeah, I have some little individual gripes about how one character was handled, but if you want to see all of the tea on my thoughts on Just Like Home, watch the NB Book Club live show that I did with Gabby and Noria. That is going to be linked down below, and it was really, really fun. So I'm not going to talk anymore about Just Like Home, but it was incredible. And this month, in the month of November, we are reading A Minor Chorus by Billy Ray Belcourt, which I am very, very excited about. Now I want to talk about one of my new favorite books of the entire year and also of all time, and that is When the Reckoning Comes by LaTanya McQueen. This is one hell of a debut. In When the Reckoning Comes, we are following Mira, who fled her small southern town of Kipson many years ago. But when her best friend, her childhood best friend, announces that she is getting married on a plantation and begs Mira to come celebrate with her, she is forced to return back to the town along with its deep, dark secrets. This is one of the most spectacular haunted house ghost story horror books that I've ever read in my life. It is full of racialized social commentary, and the plantation horror was something that was impossible to look away from. It is an amazing, masterful blend of the things that the country wants to bury. This essentially is a cautionary tale about what happens when you refuse to reckon with this country's irreconcilable history. The second that she gets to this plantation, things are off. They are serving antebellum themed drinks. They're doing slavery reenactment, right down to torture scenes, and the guests are just all going for it. They are wealthy white people who are just really enjoying living up, getting to see the good old days. Even the places where the guests are staying are renovated slave cabins. There's just so much to unpack. It's hard to believe that this book was just over 200 pages. It is one of the scariest, most horrific things that I've ever read, not just because of the racialized horror, but because of the paranormal horror as well. It really does take a lot to scare me, but the incredible narrator of this audiobook helped bring the story to life. Her voice is haunting. It seeps right into your bones, and I could not look away from this book. On top of all that, this is just some of the most beautiful writing I've ever read. LaTanya McQueen is automatically an auto-buy author from here on out. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars, despite the fact that I did not love the ending. But again, if I don't enjoy an ending but I still give the book 5 out of 5 stars, that just shows you how incredible the book itself is. It is suspenseful, gorgeous, full of issues of morality and history and present. Despite the fact that the ending didn't go the way that I personally would have written it, doesn't really matter. You should all read this book. Now let's talk about The Three Mrs. Greys by Shelley Ellis. This is a book that I have been putting off for far too long. We are following 3 women whose lives are turned upside down when they each find out that their husband has been shot and is lying in a coma. However, it turns out that they are all married to the same exact man. And shit hits the fan in this black mystery noir. Now, this was one of my most highly anticipated reads, and I was so excited to finally get into it. It came out in April of 2021, and I was pretty disappointed with myself for not having gotten to my arc in time. The good news is that this is part of a series, and I believe the next book is already out. Now, I almost DNF'd this book. If you follow me on Instagram, I made a reel about how I wanted to DNF. I ultimately stuck with it because this was just a manner of me needing to adjust my expectation. If you are going to read The Three Mrs. Greys, you need to be a fan of soap operas and you need to really like your horrors heavy on the romance and heavy on the cheesy side. The dialogue is ridiculous. It literally reads like a reality TV show. The antics of some of these women are just absolutely wild. And the husband, he done lost his damn mind. There is a lot of sex, there's a lot of cheating, there's a lot of betrayal, and the dialogue, like I said, is very, very cheesy. And I was just like, what the fucking hell is going on in this thriller? I would describe this as a beach mystery. You know what I'm saying? If you like a lot of drama and chaos, for people that enjoy light thrillers, okay? Thrillers that are light, this is gonna be the one for you. However, I will also say that the mystery is pretty damn good, and that's why I stuck with it. That's why I decided to lower my expectations and adjust my expectations rather than just DNF the book, because I'm still very curious about where the series is going to go, and I do love a really good cheesy mystery series. If you'd like to see some rich people problems, some chaos, some overall messiness, if any of that sounds good to you, read The Three Mrs. Greys. I ended up giving this 2 out of 5 stars. Now, the next book that I have is The Butcher of Camp Barlow, which I read on Scribd and gave 3 stars. I just really don't have that much to say about The Butcher of Camp Barlow. It is one of those campy slashers where these people decide to have a little vacation, they go out into the woods, and then there's a serial killer. This is going to be a really enjoyable read if you are like myself and enjoy a good 80s slasher film. It reads exactly like a slasher, down from the 80s specifically, down to the cabin horror, the archetypes of the characters. You have the stoner, you have the pretty girl, the stoic and silent killer who doesn't really have a backstory, that kind of thing. There really isn't much to say besides the fact that it is entertaining. I'm glad that I read it, and I do recommend it for those of you who think that any of those types of elements sound good in a horror book. Then there were 3. We have a worst book, a best book, and a new favorite. So let us get started by talking about my new fave, which is Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. Y'all hit the nail on the head when you said that I was gonna love this book. I have read almost everything that Tiffany D. Jackson has ever written, and I've given all of it 5 out of 5 stars. As of right now, the only book of hers that I have not read is Grown, and I have been intentionally putting that book off because I know it's going to make me very angry. Now, Allegedly is Jackson's debut book that really put her on the map, and I have been putting it off because I just had a feeling that it was going to mean a hell of a lot to me. This is a brutal horror book where we are following a young girl that was placed in child jail after she was accused of killing a white baby. And we are following her now when she is in a juvenile group home, still fighting the demons of her past when she finds out that she is pregnant herself. However, the state, who has deemed her a child murderer, refuses to let her keep her baby, and so she comes up with a plan to escape the group home. The violence and the abuses that she experiences in this group home, not only by the people that are supposed to care for her, but also by the girls themselves. She is fighting for her life every single day as these girls come up with schemes to take her life. On one hand, it is a survival story, but it is also about the horrors of being a child incarcerated and how the criminal justice system treats poor people of color. Tiffany D. Jackson is really well known for her commentary on being Black in America and the horrors that come with it, and this book is absolutely no different. But on top of that, we also have an abusive mother who comes into the home and visits Mary. And this woman is jacked up. Her psychology was very, very interesting, even though you wanted to scream at her through the entire book. I can see how this would be a book that would make the hair on the back of your neck stand up while also bringing tears to your eyes. I wanted to scream at these characters. I was rooting for Mary. I wanted to yell at her at times. It was an emotional roller coaster, and I can absolutely see why Tiffany became so well known after writing Allegedly. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I was on the fence about whether or not I thought I would enjoy this book more than Monday's Not Coming, but I think ultimately Monday's Not Coming is still my favorite. That was my first Tiffany D. Jackson book, and it's about missing Black girls. and it just did everything that I wanted. I think it was actually the follow-up to Allegedly. The books go so well hand in hand. Now, this is a book that it's better to kind of go in knowing less because it is a twisty ass thriller. Jackson is known for her wild endings. This one is no different. The ending had my jaw on the ground, but there were plot twists all throughout the book and they were so well paced and set up. You really are left guessing. I highly recommend it and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. We have Babel by R.F. Kuang. I was lucky enough to score a special edition from Illumicrate and I sleep with this book now, and I'm not kidding. It goes right by my bed. It goes right by my bed. This 600-page masterpiece by none other than R.F. Kuang, who gave us The Poppy War. Now, our patrons voted this as our book club pick for October, and they knew what they were doing. I've been screaming about this book from the absolute rooftops. I've been talking about it to friends, to family, all over Bookstagram. If you follow me on Bookstagram, you will likely have seen the footage of me sobbing when I finished this book. I'm just so sad. Besides the fact that it's just a masterful, magical, dark academic story set in the UK, besides the fact of that, any book that's gonna make me cry this hard has to become a new favorite. It just has to. You likely have heard all about this book, which follows students of color as they are taken into one of the largest translation academies in the entire world. They're given an incredible education and also taught how to work with silver, which has damn near limitless magical properties. But as these students come to acknowledge the various ways that their institution is undermining not only their native lands, but the rest of the world, they decide that they have to do something to stop it. Honestly, I think it's pretty good to go into Babel knowing less, and if you want to see my spoiler-filled review, check out my Patreon. I've waited my entire life for this moment. I'm so happy. It's just a lot. I'm just so sad. It was rough. And also, this is a really good time to announce in the month of December, I'm going to be hosting a trivia game surrounding Babel, where myself and other booktubers who love this book get together and have to battle it out to see who knows the most about the book until there is only one final victor. Details for that, the booktubers who are going to be on the show, the structure of the show, it's going to be basically like Jeopardy, is still to come, so stay tuned. And finally, a book that disappointed me the way that my father disappointed me as a child. That is Jackal by Erin E. Adams. What the fuck did I just read? What the fuck? This reminds me as to why I don't get my hopes up, because this was one of my most anticipated releases. Scratched her a little bit. This was one of my most anticipated releases. You misunderstood the assignment. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Jackal is about this woman who goes back to her creepy ass, Rust Belt, racist ass town where black girls are going missing. And she decides to play detective. That's basically what the book is about. That kind of premise is the premise that I love. You got racialized horror, you got the woods, you got racialized horror. Okay, the best thing about this book was the cover. I'm so sorry. Like, you guys know how hard I was writing for this book. It was one of my most anticipated. I was so fucking excited about it. And I hated it. I hated it so much. I hated it so much. And the only reason that I gave it 2 stars and not a 1 star is because the social commentary was on fleek. I didn't like a single thing about this book except for that. I didn't like the protagonist. I want to kick her off the side of the cliff. I did not like the writing. What the hell was some of the word choices that were made? I didn't like the rest of the characters. Her racist ass best friend that she was trying to protect, and oh, I'm so sorry. Look, there's a scene, and this happens really, really early on in the book. There's a scene, so it's not a spoiler, it's like chapter 1, where she's supposed to be watching the racist woman's little girl, and the little girl vanishes. Little girl probably ran away from your racist ass. That's probably what happened. A supernatural horror. It's very gruesome. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say. Like, I don't know how I'm supposed to be coherent. I didn't like it. I did not like this book. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them. Sam, I am. Okay. Look, I'm gonna try. I'm so fucking done. I'm so fucking done. I didn't like it. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. So you get to go back in time to see what went on with Liz's childhood when a girl that she knew went missing. So you're going back into the past and then in the present, and you get chapters from the black girls that have been going missing since like the 1920s, like these brief chapters. And then we are also at points following, I don't want to spoil it, the source of why these girls are going missing. There's a lot happening in the book, and that wasn't the issue. The issue was that the writing, in my opinion, just really was not strong enough to carry such an intensely full plot and make it really come to life. That was my first issue. The second issue, and the biggest issue, was the ending. It was like we were suddenly in a different book. It was like I felt like Rod Serling was gonna come pop out at any moment. There's a lot of dream sequences in here, which I know that a lot of y'all can't stand. You know that I have very intense feelings about dream sequences. We're not gonna get into that here. You know that I love dream sequences. I didn't give a fuck about these, okay? But that's not the point. I know we're almost done. This is the last book, I swear. She's like, I'm coming to wrap up your video. We're almost done. The only reason why I'm not done talking about this is because I'm trying to find a writing sample. I can't talk about Jackal anymore because it's making Akasha sad. Akasha, do you wanna go outside? Do you wanna go outside? Kamina? Why are you looking at them? They're not gonna take you for a walk, I am. Are you looking at yourself? Yes, you're pretty, you vain motherfucker. Okay, if you don't want to go outside, I don't know what you want from me. What do you want from me? Okay, she just wants to stretch all over my books. All right, well, I guess I'm gonna go figure out whatever that situation's about. Oh God, I accidentally stepped on her toy. All right, let's wrap this video up. If you want more content from me, I have a Patreon. Check that out. This month, we are reading Cloisters by Katie Hayes. We are going to be watching Philomena on Netflix. Our dedicated video is a fall-themed read with me. Don't forget about the Nocturnal November reading sprints. We've got reading sprints, live show. What else is happening on the Patreon? Good shit. Fun stuff. Can I have a kiss? Can I have a boop? All right, guys. See you in hell.